Hi guys, welcome back to the Tsui no Sora Remake playthrough. Now we're going to be seeing how everything with Ryududu and Takuji develops today. I was a little bit tired last time, so I didn't fully finish the scene, but yeah, it's going to be really quite fun just to see not only how it differs to Tsubaki, because obviously this Ryududu is different, but how the Lovecraftian elements of the story contrast as well. Contrast with Tsubaki, and that's going to be really quite exciting. I think I don't really know what to expect, if I'm going to be honest. I'm really going in with just the mindset that anything can happen. I mean, we know we have a rough outline of what could happen because we've read Tsubaki before, but I don't really know what's going to happen here. So I think firstly we're just going to skim read all of this because I just want to re-experience it, because this dialogue is actually really good. Oh yeah, reasonable, yeah.
私は高次元世界の住人、11次元魔法の住人だから誰でも会えるわけじゃない。
Yeah, isn't that funny? This was really odd. I mean, the fact that it's as if he can see this and then he can use Ryududu as a means of explaining it, I find that very odd. Yeah, that's interesting. I just find it really quite funny to think about the fact that this is something that, to a certain extent, it could actually be true. That is interesting. Yeah, that makes sense, yeah. It's interesting to think about the fact that Ryududu is linking an abstract concept, i.e. the soul, to something that has wavelengths, which, I mean, if something doesn't exist and something's just rather spiritual and a product of imagination rather than something that genuinely exists, how can it have properties of existing things, i.e. wavelengths? That's really unusual if you take that literally. Yeah. That's really interesting. And a soul that's become a syllable creates a world. I really wonder if you're thinking about... I don't really want to bring the eternal transmigration theory into this, because we've not actually seen any confirmation that that is the reason the world exists in Tsui no Sora, but I could understand this if you considered it. Yeah, that's unusual. It really is, but it reminds me of Takuji's saying, I mean, if you have reached the limit of the world, if you've... No, how did it fully go? Limits. Not integration, but limits. Well, by reaching the limit of the world, you have reached the limit of your world. No, by reaching the limit of your world, you have reached the limit of the world. So what is the difference between you and the world? I.e., there is no difference. And you are the master of your own world, really. And, I suppose, yeah, in this case, the soul that is made out of sound that becomes a syllable when I suppose other sounds influence it, that soul is then the thing that determines the person who will live through said world. And I suppose it creates the world because, well, if you use that analogy of the limit of the world being the same as the world, I suppose the existence of a person is like the creation of the world for said person. I don't know, that's just a guess if I'm going to be honest. That's just a genuine guess. I've not really got much idea if that's the case. I'd like you guys to correct me if I'm wrong, because I want to know. Yeah, that's interesting. It is interesting that the resonation of souls is the only thing that is required. And it's interesting when you consider reality as not really something that has any logic. Because let's be honest, for beings like these, time doesn't matter. And also, it's the case that, well, if the world really is just made up of wavelengths, like Riduru is trying to say, what can influence those wavelengths? And is a wavelength really really secure from stuff like this happening? There's no barrier, no protection from the world and the world billions of years ago. Yeah, and I find that very interesting because, let's be honest, his reality is influenced fully by his delusions. Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that he can't put it into words. Because how can you tell delusion from reality? Somebody like him can't. What does it mean by phantom pain? Oh, right. You feel pain in your missing body part after an amputation. Jesus Christ. Oh, that's interesting. So the brain will send signals out to try and find the missing appendage, and it won't get signals back, which can lead to... Fucking hell, that's rough. That really is... Jesus. Oh, fucking hell. Oh god, don't go in images. Oh fucking hell. Oh god. I didn't even click the images tab, I just scrolled down and then I saw images and then I just thought, yeah, close tab instantly, let's just say. But you still feel the pain. The phantom pain is still a type of pain that can be like pain itself, biologically explained. And that's really interesting to think about the fact that if you think about the subjectivity idea, I mean, the idea that what is objective is actually subjective, it's just accepted by a lot of people, so it appears to be objective. It kind of reminds me of this, if anything, because there's no objective definition for what is real or not. People have an idea based on what they think is the most realistic, but is there any definitive proof? And it kind of reminds me of everything there. Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. I kind of like that, because there could be an objective truth, but if nobody knows said truth, then what meaning does that idea have? Yeah. Yeah, interesting. I kind of like that though, with facts as well. I mean, I suppose it's only reality, and in reality it is only a fact because it equals something and it has some means of logic that can be used to justify it. But at the same time, I mean... It's just interesting. If nobody asks the question of what is real, then people will be... I mean, it's just natural to live in the world you live in without questioning what it is whatsoever. And it's interesting that nothing can become reality if nobody accepts it, but at the same time, we instinctively accept what we are, what our surroundings is the real world. How does that work? If that's the case. And to be fair, that is actually a good point. Why do people have instincts to accept reality? And obviously the people who can't accept the reality and can't accept the world that they're living in, they're considered crazy. I mean, it's just very, very cruel, to be honest. Yeah. Everything can be considered reality, it's just people experience reality in different ways, like Takuji would to a sane person, because his reality, well, what he accepts is influenced by delusions. So it's interesting, there's a difference between what is objectively reality and what you perceive as reality here, but what is objectively reality, it doesn't really matter in your head, because you're only experiencing what you perceive, really. Yeah, the rules of what reality is and what delusion is. How are people who are deluded meant to know where the barrier is? Oh, meeting, I love that. Yeah, that's interesting.
そんなことないよ。僕は受け取れよ。リルルちゃんの思いをちゃんと受け取るから。
Yeah, but the only thing is, I mean, it's interesting. This is an example of his potential delusions influencing his reality. He doesn't know what Riduru is looking like whatsoever. Maybe she could be having a very sadistic face at the moment. This is just what he perceives. I just think it's so funny how aware he is. But then again, it makes sense. This is really interesting in order for them to properly connect, and if anything, it's like the soul analogy for both of the wavelengths in their souls to resonate and, I suppose, interfere with each other. They need to be able to hold each other's hands, and they need to make that physical connection. Physical, but you see what I mean, hopefully. It's odd. I mean, then again, I suppose... No, totally. Yeah, one that transcends time and space, one that doesn't even need to evolve. Yeah, that's interesting. I find it very interesting that he has a very... It feels like he's very troubled about what the point of his life was. But that is a good point, what Didudu is saying. What is the point? I mean, to be fair, a lot of the time, well, nearly all the time, the point is to, well, it's all down to the parents, really. Because ultimately, initially, a human birth, all it does is change parents' lives for the better or the worse. Well, does evolution really want or care for people living a meaningful life? They just care, evolution just cares about the advancement of the species. It doesn't actually care about what people do in their lives. If anything, ironically, I think evolution, because of aging population theory, maybe living a meaningful life is, I don't know, like, if you live an academic life, for example, that'd be the opposite, because, well, I suppose the more academia, the less, well, the fewer people who are having kids. Obviously, living a meaningful life is detrimental to evolution. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. Yeah, exactly. He is, kind of. There's a lot more to that. There's a lot more to it than that, I think. Definitely. Doesn't matter about what other people think. It just matters about how you're fulfilled yourself, if you ask me. If you fulfill yourself, and obviously, this is kind of what I think. If you fulfill life yourself, and you fulfill everything you want to do and you're proud of yourself as a person, sure, that's the case. Obviously, whether you are objectively meaningful is another point, but if you live a life that's acceptable by your standards, it's fine. And I mean, by living a life that's acceptable with most people, that would mean treating other people nice and benefiting other people. With other people, it may be the entire opposite, but still. I think a meaningful life all lies down within the individual. I don't think there's one set definition for said concept.
それだけ？
お金がたくさんあること、大きな家に住んで 高級車に乗ってそれで
No, it
毎日美味しいものを食べて
To be fair, I mean, it sounds like a good life until you realise how fucking lonely you are going to be. Let's be honest, if you have a life like this, 9 out of 10 people are going to use you for your money. 9 out of 10.
自分が好きな人に愛されたいっていうのは
Oh my god, that's hilarious.
それは違うの
With my argument, I think my argument's okay until you realise that people who have had lives worsen because of factors that aren't their fault, who haven't been able to produce output that would match their potential, and they haven't been able to be proud of themselves. It's not fair to call their lives meaningless, especially if something has happened that isn't their fault whatsoever. That's not fair. So my initial belief, it has a few flaws, because it, like I said, it varies from person to person.
多分そうだと思うけど
じゃあ可愛いことエッチなことをしたいとか
Ah yes, this is the most meaningful thing in life.
それは
Do it, do. He probably will as well.
顔真っ赤それはありなんだね
Who wouldn't feel like that? Especially if a girl was... No, I mean, I'm sorry, but your wife who was literally saying this to you, why would it not be the case?
それは多少は僕だって制約はあるわけだし
それがいつからいつまで続くといいの
いつまで
だってそれでもいつか人間は必ず死ぬ時間的にどれだけの長さだと満足なの
Yeah, fair enough.
考えたことないけど満足するまで
But how long will that take?
それが人間が生まれてくる意味なの
資産を残すためかな
I mean, yeah, fair enough, but... I mean, sure, this future generation, it's going to affect other people. That you may have an influence in said other people, but at the same time, it's not going to influence yourself. What's the point of living a life if you're just going to change it for other people? You need to live your own life as well. Yeah, luxuries rather than other people. I find it interesting that Takuji doesn't naturally think of something like that. I'm kind of the same. How long should what gives life meaning last? If life is always meaningful, when is it meaningless? You live until you yourself are satisfied. Kind of. But at the same time, it's tricky because what if you have some sort of mental illness, let's say depression? You can never become satisfied, so is it right to say that somebody who has depression's life has no meaning? And no, of course it's not. But then it's not right to give one set definition for the life, for meaning of life, really. It varies from every single person's thought. If anything, it's probably one of the most subjective questions you can ask. There's so many answers you can give. I'm gonna actually search that up. I'm a bit curious. What is the most subjective question? I see on Reddit. What's objectively the most... Oh my god, that's hilarious. What's objectively the most subjective question? The first answer, how are you? That's interesting. Yeah. What's the difference between a life with meaning and a life with an ideal way to live? Is it really fair to have an objective definition for the meaning of life, though? Just depends on how you define meaning of life, if you ask me. And it's a shame that Takuji can't really find meaning in his own life, but I don't blame him. He's really not got any direction. Did she say... Wait, no. Hukushi? Or what did she say? Oh, she said Hukashi. Nengurai. Okay. I thought she said Hushigi, which would be really quite funny because Hushigi means mysterious. Hushigi na koto. Or something like that. Oh my god, that's interesting. Yeah. I never expected something like that to be written. Genes and memes, that's so cheesy. Yeah, but that's interesting. Then again, let's be honest, everybody is going to be nothing in terms of infinity, but at the same time in an individual level. The meaning of life in infinity doesn't matter to us individually, and it shouldn't matter to us because, firstly, we are human beings, we're not a dimension above human beings, but secondly, there's no point of contemplating that outside of which we are going to live. I mean, maybe in the short term, like for example, I don't know, who's going to get your will and who you dying is going to benefit or detriment. And yeah, in the short term, sure, but in the long term, unless you're a writer or just somebody who publishes works who has a massive ego, who wants to be remembered throughout the entirety of their lives, I mean, it's reasonable. It could be egotistical, but I can understand why people would want that. But yeah, we only want that within the future. We don't want that within the scope of infinity. I mean, what I'm trying to say is that infinity doesn't really have much relevance on our lives anyway. So why should we think this? Why should we think like Riruru is? We're not going to experience infinity. We're just going to experience the small amount of time we've been allowed to be on the Earth, really. even though it does not feel like a small amount of time whatsoever.
でもそんな難しいことどうでもいいよ。理屈がどうあれ、僕はまだ死にたくないだけなんだ。
I find it really interesting that Takuji is likening Riduru to Ayana. And it's interesting that they are ultimately saying the same things. It's just the fact that Riduru is in a form that Takuji's mind can accept.
だから僕はやっぱり
Yeah. God, he sounds it.
怖いのタクジ君は。
ああ、怖いよ。怖いともさ。だって死んじゃうんだよ。なくなっちゃうんだよ。すべてが。
Yeah.
死ぬのが怖いの？だったら永遠に生きたいの？
Oh god, this is gonna go very badly.
それも違うよ。それは違うんだよ。
統合で結ばれた瞬間にその回答も暗示されてしまう。
Oh yeah, that's interesting.
問いとは回答を覆い隠したものでしかない。
That's fair.
にもかかわらず答えが見つからない問いも存在する。
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, like for example, how is reality a thing? And the universe paradox. Who will ever be able to answer those?
それは果たして本当に正しい問いなの？
わからないよ。わからないけど、僕は怖いんだよ。
Yeah, I don't blame him. It's so sad how he is so vulnerable. He has nobody to talk to. All that can accompany him is his delusions, which are so unhealthy for him.
タクジ君、至ることと死ぬこと、どちらが恐ろしい？
至るって何なんだよ。
人を超越すること。
だったらそっちがいいよ。
本当に本当なの？
ああ、当たり前だ。そんな質問されたら僕は何度でも言うよ。至るものになることを選ぶって。
そっか、そうだよね。私たちは魂が共鳴したんだから。さあ、私と共鳴しましょう。対の空という磁場から至るための道へ。
Oh my god, this is going to be really quite something.
アルファオメガ。
Oh god. What's happened to him?
冷たい、冷たい、冷たい、冷たい、冷たい。
Interesting that we have this theme. Oh my god.
熱い、熱い、熱い、熱い、熱い、熱い。
What? What? Jesus Christ. That was not what I was expecting whatsoever, but why?
人はその期間を中心に世界を作る。
Of course, yeah.
だけどその期間を中心に見えるものは有機体が環境を感知する限界に過ぎない。
What's gonna happen to Takuji? And his brain, obviously.
その期間は物質として私の魂との共鳴に耐えることはできない。だから
騙したら君まで騙すのか。なんでだよ。二次元が騙すなんてありえないだろ。あっちゃいけないんだよ。痛い痛い痛い。
What the fuck? Jesus Christ, man, I've been reading Junji Ito in the morning. Didn't expect to read more of it now. Well, Junji Ito manga, I'm reading Tommy at the moment.
騙したわけじゃないよ。ただ会いたかっただけ。ただ一緒になりたかったため。
君が一緒になると言って脳を食うのか。
タクジ君、リルルはタクジ君のこと好きだよ。
Yeah, that's not gonna cut it. Jesus Christ. I mean, I don't even want to imagine how much pain Takuji is under. You really think something like this is going to do it? But I just find it very odd to think about the fact that Takuji is describing his brain going and also half of his head just totally falling off. I'd like to see a visual representation of that. I mean, it just feels so ridiculous. I don't understand. Is he perceiving these feelings, or is it kind of similar to when Ayana, I don't know, Ayana with Tadokoro, if anything, what happens is, well, I suppose she completely gets inside Tadokoro's brain, and then, while he still does have a bit of his brain left, there isn't enough to properly function. This is properly disgusting. Yeah, isn't that funny? Being loved by somebody like this is something to be very, very terrified about. Yeah, what the hell is going to happen to him now? How is he going to turn from somebody who is understandably ridiculously terrified to the savior? I don't understand. Is it as if it never happened and that's just what he's imagining? He sounds different already. Oh my god. No, it totally did. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. This is really unusual. It's as if Takuji has had to go from an existence that's human being-like to one that's above in order to perceive that which is in front of him. And he sounds so different as well. I think it's really interesting. I think when Takuji was unconscious, maybe it could be the case that his entire body peeled away. I don't know. No, that's ridiculous. Just gain a piece of realism, please. That could never have happened. But at the same time, I mean, let's be honest, Ridudu, it's a question of whether Ridudu is an actual Lovecraftian being that exists or just simply a delusion. And because of everything that happened with Ayana, and also Yasuko, I think Ridudu genuinely exists. So I wouldn't be surprised if Ridudu would have the power to rebuild Takuji. I don't know, it just feels like something that wouldn't be insane at this point. I mean, then again, they are beings of higher dimensions, so why should we use our human logic in order to describe them and reason with what they can do? Totally! Yeah. Well, maybe not something that's entirely the same as what he's doing, i.e. trying to interact with another dimension. Well, no, that's exactly what she was trying to do, but obviously she would do that by having a quote-unquote near-death experience. No, it's just a reason for her to justify her suicide, and with Takuji it's a reason for him to be able to cope with his terrifying delusions. But the only thing is, this reason is frighteningly real, unlike Zakudo's.
高島さん？
世界が終わることに僕よりも早く気がついた預言者だよ。彼女とはもっと仲良くなれたかもしれなかったね。
Yeah. Ridudu looks really quite cool. If I'm going to be honest, I really like her design. I think Tsubaki will always be better for me because it's classic, and I don't really like the facial art style of Tsui no Sora, but I still think this Ridudu looks very cool. Yeah, that's actually really interesting. Yeah, no, I can see that.
けど疑似的な死は所詮模倣にしか過ぎない。それは真の意味でのイニシエーション足りえない。
Yeah, I see that. It's as if you want to have an imitation of an experience that would make it so that you can wake up with... Well, no, your powers can return to you. You want to imitate it. You don't want to actually make it so that the powers can return. That is, if they do exist, which... Yeah, that's another matter. God damn.
でも脳が失われるほどにその痛みが強くなる。
Yeah.
君の姿が鮮明に見え始めた。
Fuck off. Oh my god, I hate this monitor's IO menu. It's genuinely so annoying. Right, there we go.
脳という器官によって我々人間は世界像という情報を生む。だから
It's really interesting that, yeah.
直接情報的に干渉すれば、リルルちゃんは実在する。
But the only thing that I find really weird is these beings objectively exist if they can actually interfere with said brain. But the only thing is, obviously, they don't exist in a means that can be perceived by humans. Obviously, it's kind of like what Ayana said, you have to give them form and you have to give them your own thoughts, and you've got to dedicate a part of your soul, if anything, to them so that the soul can resonate and that they can touch, they can go inside the brain and then they can manifest. And isn't it ironic to think about the fact that with a lot of other people, they have... Well, it's really weird because these creatures are on dimensions that are higher than that of human beings. But at the same time, with all these other people, they haven't become like Takuji. Rather, they have just died. Maybe it's because they couldn't cope with being a higher dimension than a human being. Or maybe it's the case that instead of making that happen, they just wanted to kill the people who died. Well, they deserved it. Well, they didn't, maybe not deserve death, but they deserve punishment, but they did not deserve something as bad as what was given to them. Actually, is that true? I don't know. It's kind of hard to say, to be honest. You could make a very compelling argument for them deserving it, which is reasonable. Anyway, I'm just going off track. Yeah. But I like the fact that it's an imitation, that emphasis. Reasonable. Justify the mass media brainwashing people now. And all of those conspiracy theories with this logic here.
Now, 僕が見ているリルルちゃんは紛れもなく現実だ。
ごめんね。そんな苦しむとは思わな
Oh,
か
we
ったよ。
totally did. It was
脳
awful.
って期間は痛覚がないって聞いてたから。
The brain definitely. Actually, yeah, I mean it. Wait, I want. How many does it have? Oh, that's actually really weird. So brain doesn't have pain receptors. So it's rather things like headaches, so where blood vessels in your head tell your brain that there is something wrong with, just in general with your body. And then that's why it feels like your brain has pain. But the brain has no pain receptors. That's interesting. It's just everything that around it which will give you ridiculous amounts of pain from stuff like this.
そんな話もあるね。だけど、あれは痛覚というか、もっと違うものだよ。
Okay, from retro perspective, sure, but I don't think you want to re-experience what you felt. I mean, sure, it was pain, but at the same time, it was a very, very scared and emotion-driven response. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, this too. But it's interesting. I mean, she's got to eat Takuji's brain, but at the same time, in order to do so, she can become real inside his head. It's so weird. This is all because I wanted to be with you, even though I'm quite literally devouring your brain. And obviously replacing it with essences of me.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
原理的には情報が上書きされた形なのでしょう。
そんな感じかな。
Yeah, but at the same time, overwriting information also implied... Actually, I mean, how do you necessarily know things like what happened with Takuji, i.e. his head, going in half, actually happened? Maybe there is information about what Takuji is and what he truly perceives himself as. So when that information is overridden, maybe phenomena like that can happen because of the fact that he doesn't have information in order to accept that as reality. If you force somebody else's reality on another person, how are they going to be able to accept, like in such a quick time frame, how are they going to be accepting it? They can't, surely?
何が見えた？
全てが見えたと思う。多分
Yeah, of course that would drive him mad.
138億年前まで
And you're just going a bit crazy now. Yeah.
けどそれ以前に遡ろうとするとまた時間が前に戻り始めちゃうんだ。
That's
だ
interesting.
から僕は脳が持つ時間順序積に従った形で時間を進んでいった。
宇宙創生から今まで旅をした感想は？
終わってしまえばここにはその形跡はない。一瞬ではないけど今となっては一瞬として処理していいような気がする。
I like that. Yeah, it's just a little additional emphasis on the moment, the progression of time of infinity. Maybe he has genuinely just experienced all of that time in that mere instant. I think that's very unlikely, though. I think it's more just a delusion, but yeah.
すごい答えだね。
すごい答えって？
そんなセリフ、波の哲学者や宗教家じゃ言えないよ。
と言われても、僕は哲学者でも宗教家でもないけど。
Yeah.
そうだよ。だから彼らには言えなくて、拓司君に言えるんだよ。
そうなの？うん。
拓司君は神様の一部だもん。
神様の一部？僕が神様の一部なのかい？
神様の全
部。What?
全部？一部ではないの？
どっちも。
You are totally improvising here, but okay.
神様の一部で全部？
そうだよ。
How's that possible?
一であり全なの。
Oh, that's interesting. If one, it all means you are everything, and one is what is defined by all. That makes more sense now.
そうなんだ。
If you set all to imply one, then you are.
納得はできないよ。僕はまだ人間だ。
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Unlike Ridudu, he has human restraints that bind him to his, I don't know, state of existence, if you like.
そんな理屈を超えた理屈なんて理解できないよ。僕にあるとしたら、それは兆しだけだ。
すごい！拓司君完璧な答え！兆しがわかるなんて。じゃあついでに
神様の夢の破片と世界の終わりについてかい？
すごい！
僕には神様というものが理解できないし、その夢の破片というのが理解できないけど、それが世界の終わりに関係あるんでしょ？
そうそう。なんでわかるの？
だってリルルちゃんは神様の夢を集めてるんでしょ？そのリルルちゃんが僕に世界の終わりのことを説明しに来た。 ということは
そうだね。
それで世界は終わるのかい
20日に。だからあと6日ほど。拓司くん怖い？
僕の一瞬は138億年になりうる。今さら脳が生み出す時間順序が恐ろしいわけがないさ。
That's interesting.
それにどちらにしろ時間の長さなんて関係ない。今すぐ死んだとしても怖くはない。
It's just because the value of an instant in the scope of infinity. That's weird. It feels quite nonsensical, if anything.
なんで？
すでに兆しの中にいるから。
でも拓司くんは死んではダメだよ。20日に世界は終わるけど、それは無になるわけではないんだから。
そうなのかい？
だってそんなんなら私が拓司くんに会いに来た意味がないでしょ。
Hmm.
へえ、意味なんてあったんだ。
当たり前よ。だいたい終わりと始まりは表裏一体。終わりは何かの始まりなんだから。いつも。
Yeah, reasonable.
じゃあ何か新しい世界でも始まるのかい？
Yeah, look at that. He's totally starting to sound like he will. Later on, let's just say. Yeah, funny that. Funny that it doesn't need explanation. What the meaning of a perfect answer, it changes. I suppose then again, Takuji, if anything, it's like Takuji is the god of said omen, because obviously the end of the world will happen, but at the same time, people will only be able to know about it if he leads said prophecy. So I suppose he is the god of said omen, because he is the one who becomes the leader of his cult and obviously gets people. I suppose maybe you could think about it like that? I don't know. I wonder if we're going to see God in this chapter, actually. Yeah, and it is interesting just how meaningless a set amount of time can be if a single incident can become 138 billion years. That is fair, though. I find it interesting that he has this awareness already that he is going to be something that has an influence on said omen. And how many people know the omen. Yeah.
始まってはダメ。
What?
それだったら今までと同じなの。
今までと違う終わり？それは何が違うんだい？
世界が始まるわけではないんだけど。
じゃあ世界が終わり無になるんでしょ？
Yeah.
無にはならない。だってそれは無の始まりなんだから。
Yeah, no, I see that now. That's interesting. I thought Lidudu was going to be the inspiration for Takuji's world of, Takuji's idea of there being a world full of lies and imperfections and the end of the world leading everybody to, the Tsui no Sora and the end of the world and returning to the sky, leading people to said perfect world.
無の始まり。
Oh.
じゃあ何に？
Yeah, what happens after the beginning of another thing?
それ以降？
そう。タクジ君の兆しを。
兆しを？
それ以降にするため。
Yeah, I like that because so if you think about the fact that he's a god of the omen, he influences what will happen after said event, maybe.
それ以降？
人間の言葉だとうまく説明できないの。
Yeah, isn't that funny?
言葉に当てはめると無限の一種。
無限の一種？無限に種類があるのかい？
無限には濃度があるの。だから無限は一つじゃない。私たち魔法少女を束ねるザキー&ザゲートはアレフゼロでね。
Wait, so what actually is A Omega? What does that represent? No, I mean... Wait. Yeah, let's see. Dude, I didn't ask for this. Oh, right. So absolute infinite. That's interesting. Oh, wait. So the symbol is just I don't know. Well, I mean omega, or the unit for the ohm as well. Well, the letter that's used for the ohm unit as well. I suppose. But yeah, the absolute infinite. It's just referred to as omega rather than a omega. I can't actually find anything on a omega. I just see omega. What did a left zero, what does it fully mean? Let's just get a definition. A left zero is the smallest infinite integer. Weird. Dude, you really think I can read this? Oh my god, how the fuck? Wait, so okay, let's try. Is this the length of x such that I don't know what colon equals? I've only seen such that with a colon. Min. I don't know, that's some sort of function, I don't know. Oh, I've seen this before, but I don't know. I forgot what it meant. No, that just means equals. O(n) such that the length of A equals the length of X. Yeah, they're starting to talk in language that really has the limit of human logic, and it's interesting that he can so... Let's be honest, Takuji wasn't the most intelligent before. I mean, look at how poorly he justified the reason of living a life. I kind of get that impression, if I'm going to be honest. And then you can just properly see his intelligence increase by a significant amount. Wait, let's see. I don't know, let's just get AI to explain it for us. I don't know how I'd find it otherwise. Put this into words. Here we go. See what we get. Yeah, it's done it. What? Okay, the cardinality of x, not the length of x, like the length of line x. What? I've never heard of that before, but cardinality of x is defined to be the least ordinal alpha such that the cardinality of alpha is equal to the cardinality of x. The fuck does cardinality mean? Oh, right. Okay, so that's the number of elements in a set. What is an ordinal? Yes, what is an ordinal number? A number defining the position of something in a series. See if we can find this out. So, okay, so the number of elements in set X is defined to be the... what is alpha representation of, like an index, like a position of a number in set. And the least, so the smallest position in the set. So the cardinality of alpha. That's unusual. So what is it saying, like, oh my fucking... Okay, I think I actually kind of get this now. This is a completely new concept to me. So I've learned barely any of this language, I'm going to be honest. Yeah, I think I get that. The fuck? Where's my audio gone? Oh no, my audio's gone nowhere, it's just loop. That's so unusual. Yeah. Yeah. I think I kind of get that. It's very unusual. Oh god, now there's gonna be more, isn't there?
そんな簡単に分かったらつまらないよ。それはそうじゃないの。
Oh yeah, I like that. Yeah, if it's something that could be put into human logic, it would be too uninteresting. I like that. But it totally defines the incomprehensible nature of said being here. By the way, I put that into AI. If anybody wants to give me an explanation for the language in the comments, I'd be very happy to read it. And obviously what it means. Takuji is the weaver of the infinity. And it's very weird, yeah. The lowest infinity there is.
Tsui?
Alright then.
Tsui?
いいえ、Tsuiだよ。
Tsui? それは
Tsui の。
空。
Oh god.
そう。あなたが至るものは。
Tsui の空。至るって。
それは至っていてついえてるもの。
至っていてついえてるもの。
But why? If after the Tsui no Sora arrives, can I just say this eye is terrifying? But after the Tsui no Sora arrives, she will just he will put a beginning to nothing. What's the point of putting a beginning to nothing? Why does it have to happen like that? Why can't life live? What's the problem with life living?
でもそれって人間にとっての死じゃないの？
Yeah.
死じゃないよ。それは存在の至りとか言えばいいのかな。死でも生でもないし、無でも有でもないし、そしてそれは世界霊魂でもない。
What is that? Anima means soul, maybe. Oh, actually, I was actually right. That's good. World spirit. The ancient concept of a universal organizing principle that connects all beings. Weird.
世界霊魂？
そのことに関しては考えなくていいの。だってそれは。
それは
Are you gonna stop being so shocked? What a weird dialogue. I love that everything. I love that how shocked Takuji became. It just became longer and longer. Alright, July the 14th now. What's happening? Are we gonna see Takuji at home at all? Oh no, he literally sleeps down here. Holy fuck. Dude, what must his parents think? That is, if he has parents still. I don't know how similar or different his family situation is here compared to Subahibi. Oh my god, it's Riduru.
秘密基地。なんで僕はこんなところで寝てしまったんだろう。
Yeah, totally. It almost feels as if Riduru has made Takuji sleep. I don't know. Oh my god, yeah.
だから恐ろしくなって町に逃げ込んだんだ。けど奴らは僕を見つけ出した。気がつくとここまで逃げてて、それで僕は。そうだ、リルルちゃん。反応がない。これじゃまるで。
It's hard to tell, yeah. Not what I was expecting, but okay. You just realise that everything you've seen is a lie, and then that happens? God damn. I find it very interesting that he's still properly haunted by what he's seen, even if he feels as if he's undergone a massive change. Yeah. If Riruru has genuinely modified Takuji's brain, I don't really understand why he's thinking stuff like this. What if it could be? Oh my god, you can never tell. That's a good point. Yeah. I like this more than any of his other logic. But I think it could be very reasonable for him to think that everything that happened there was a dream. At the same time, though, you've got to answer... No, wait, no. You could reasonably justify it being a dream. What's going on? Isn't that interesting how his head works? Wow. So you obviously use grasping the truth as a means of reassuring yourself and coping from said delusion. But then you realise just how illogical your brain has been operating and how desperate it has been to make it so that he has not been fully taken by the trauma of said delusions. Because what is the thing that has been grasped? Yeah, this is really unhealthy as well. Yeah, it's such a good way for Takuji, somebody who has such a lack of touch with reality, to be able to think this, even if Riruru is genuinely something that exists here. Yeah, isn't that funny? Even how is it a dream if he is clearly remembering elements from said quote-unquote dream? Why is that a thing that you instinctively know if it's a dream? The fact that you have fully awakened, a newly awakened brain capacity.
まりにすごい真理の前に人間の脳がついていかなかったのか。
But then again, I mean, it was the truth of the concept of infinity. Maybe that's what Takuji's thinking about here. But I mean, there was also, I suppose, a truth about Zakuro being able to see the truth of all of the, when he was being proper paranoid conspiracy theorist, that as well. But also, I suppose, yeah, it's the truth as in the one where well, the one where infinity is a mere instant, and a mere instant is, no matter which time scale there is, it is just a mere instant within the scope of infinity.
「それで僕は昨日の真理を忘れてしまったのか。生命が生まれてから初めて到達した存在の至りという真理。人類があと数十億年しなければ至れない真理をこの僕は体得したんだ。まあいいさ。
It's interesting that it feels as if what he considers to be a dream is the part in which he has found a truth that, as he says, humanity may not be able to reach for billions of years, and it's as if it's restricted to only knowledge of that which is above human. Yeah, and isn't it interesting to think about the fact that none of what Rirudu is saying is important and the truth that he has forgotten. This is the only thing that Rirudu wants him to realise. And he wants... I suppose she wants him to be independent as well. Yeah, totally. Isn't it interesting you make a human... I find it funny that he thinks he's an elevated existence now, but at the same time he's just somebody who's drunk on concepts that are too unknown for human beings to contemplate. They're great for stuff like this, to be honest. Why? That's really unrealistic though. I mean, what necessarily makes you think that a time frame is going to be responsible for finding a truth? Oh my God, yeah, that image.
この言葉を僕は知っている。そしてこれはとても重要な言葉だ。いや、安心していい。朝の僕に分からずとも必ず日没には真理に回帰するであろう。永遠の時間で起こる回帰。この永劫回帰を朝に生まれた僕は日没には迎えるであろう。
It's interesting, this cycle. It feels like an endless cycle. If anything, you learn knowledge and then you forget that which you have learned. You spend the entirety of your time trying to learn it, but then comes night and then the knowledge has just suddenly been implanted in your head, but then that knowledge is only short term. You just spend so much time trying to search for the knowledge. You spend more time searching for it than you spend doing anything with it, which is a bit odd. That's actually really interesting. So you think you give the output in the morning, but then in the nighttime I suppose you devour any source of knowledge you can possibly have, and you're as if you are greedy for knowledge and you get more and more and more, and then it's as if you're created anew. That's so weird. What an unusual way of thinking, and what an unrealistic way of thinking as well. I just find it really interesting that concepts like these with Ryududu, they are concepts that are not meant to be understood by humanity, so obviously that means unrealistic and illogical thinking that's not justified by anything that's natural. It's totally reasonable in situations like these, and that's why it's so good for somebody like Takuji. Or, well, maybe not so good, it's unhealthy as hell, but it's powerful. This is so ridiculous.
そして没落しなければならない。今の僕は生まれたばかりだ。僕はまず没落から始めなければならない。
だからじゃない。そう、ノストラダムスの予言ってじゃない？
That's interesting.
年の7の月に恐怖の大王が空から。それならもう終わってるじゃない。7月も中旬だし。でもね、あれも諸説あってね。え、そうなの？ 9月？今年の秋？けどそれだとさ。嘘。それに来年の。来年？何それ？推薦はどうなるの？
These people are so depressing.
それならさ、今年の11月とかの話は知ってる？何何？それどういうこと？
God, these people really are the gossip freaks.
嘘ならさ。何それ？ 2012年だいぶ先じゃない？マヤ文明で有名な予言でね。だったら今年の7月っていうのは？世界の滅亡は1999年の7月って昔から言われてたじゃない。だったら今月中に世界って終わっちゃうわけ？だからね。
My god, this looks really weird. I love that he just totally criticizes any form of human work now because he is so above them and he feels as if he's so important. How do you know? Fair. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
ねえねえ、なんかあれがこっち見てるんですけど。誰？あれ。
Isn't it interesting how he feels as if he is on a higher level of consciousness than humanity, and as a result of that, when people could make fun and bully him, he kind of, it's as if he accepts it more than he is accepting things that he never has accepted before. Things that would seem insane to accept beforehand.
Like, いつも突っ伏してるくせにこっち見て笑ってるんですけど。マジ？うわ、キモ。とりあえず無視しよう。うん。
Yeah, because they're scared, ironically. Yes, you will be when people realise who you truly are. True. Yeah. They're all show.
Oi.
Oh god, this is gonna be fun.
Oi. Mamiya-kun te ba.
This guy really sounds like he is speaking through a 90s phone filter, like an audio filter.
Oh, Take-kun.
Take-kun. Fucking arsehole. Yeah, this is going to be really funny to see Takuji probably become arguably as tough as somebody like Take.
Nanda. 楽しそうじゃんか。
そう見えるのかい？
今日は重役出勤か？もう昼休みだぞ。お前スポーツ推薦でもねえのに成績悪いし、卒業とか無理じゃねえの？
Yeah, it doesn't... I mean, sure, something like that can happen, but at the same time, maybe he's being bullied and maybe he's not being given a chance, and also maybe he has very, very bad mental health issues as well. Yeah. And you're treating him like somebody that's normal and that, well, somebody that doesn't have mental health issues. I mean, isn't that a bit unfair? And also you're bullying him about it as well. You are a shit person. But people properly look down on others here, it seems. Especially because of the fact that this is a school that people try to get into. And they go out of their way a lot to get into too.
あ？なんだその目は。
なんでもないよ。それよりも なんか用かい？
Isn't that so funny? The fact that he is so not phased, and he's probably trying to suppress his laugh if anything.
なんかさ、間宮って小沢に金貸してたじゃん。俺、今日たまたま手持ちがなくてさ。
Buy it with your own money, you
でも買
fucker.
わなきゃいけねえ参考書があるんだよ。
参考書？勉強家だね。
そう、俺って勉強家でさ。で、金貸せよ。
My favourite diligent student, the one that bullies others and extorts them out of their own money in order to be benefited themselves. Fuck off.
いくらだい？
はあ？なんか物分かりいいじゃねえか。
This is gonna be fun. He's not going to give him the money whatsoever. I wonder how he's going to take this out of context and turn it back on him as well.
そうかい？10万かい？
What?
それとも20万かい？
おいおい、ふかしてんじゃねえぞ。そんな金がてめえにあるのかよ。
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
適当抜かしてるとボコるぞ。
適当なんかじゃないよ。お金なんかなんとかなるさ。
What?
え、
Why?
何それ？宝くじでも当たったのか？
そうかもしれない。
マジかよ。
お金は明日でいいかな。
Oh my god, he's gonna murder him. Oh, this is gonna be fun.
おう、いいぜ。よろしく頼むな。
わかったよ。
He doesn't give a deadline. Takuji's actually really lucky that he doesn't. There are barely any bullies in stories like these that don't give deadlines, I feel. Just to increase pressure.
もし適当なこと言ってたら、てめえ。
Yeah, ironic, because you're gonna die, I think.
大丈夫さ。
そうか。
Ah, yes, my favourite bully, the one who's stammering from talk, the weakest person in the class has given.
じゃあ明日な。
うん。
What a shithead.
20万持ってこいよ。
Buy your reference materials yourself, you little depressing peasant.
わかったよ。
I love that's the first thing he thinks. Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, then again, money does hold an incredible meaning to somebody's life, but at the same time, I mean, yeah, it's just a bit pathetic, if anything. The fact that you would be so excited about something that you don't even know is going to come to light. I mean, well, no, he's not. He's excited for 200,000 yen if it happens, but he's also excited to beat up Takuji if it doesn't, so it's kind of like a win-win situation for him, to be honest. Oh yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
なんか世界が20日で終わるって噂知ってる？
Ah, so we're gonna be looking at this now.
いや、知らないけど なんか高島ザクロさんって人はそのために死んだんだって。
なんで世界が終わると自殺するの？
わからないけど、でも自殺前にそう言ってたって聞いた。小沢くんの転落死もあるし、偶然にしては多すぎない？
Yeah, totally, 100%.
なんか怒るのかな。
わからないけど、そんな予言残して自殺したとか不気味すぎるんだけど。
Isn't it ironic that Takuji thinks that these people have discovered it themselves and it's within the entire effort of their intellect? It's just the circulation of rumours. It's not necessarily because they have genuinely realised this. No way. They haven't realised it's just rumours, and obviously while there are justifications, they will never be more than that, just rumours, until obviously Takuji promotes them. Of course, yeah. Yeah, truly means to you. Ooh, that'll be interesting. I wonder if we're going to have a conversation with Ayana.
Oi.
Ooh, I wonder what this is going to be. Oh, I can see why he'd say that. Okay, I'm gonna have a break and come back. This seems really interesting. Right, let's get back into this. I don't know how long I'm going to be able to read from now. I'm getting tired. I hope I'm going to be able to read quite a bit. I just think it's so funny to think about the fact that because of the fact he feels he's transcended humanity, this is not really something we saw in Tsubaki. Before he becomes a savior, he just feels so reckless. He feels as if he can intervene with every single human affair because he just feels like he's above the world. He doesn't even care about which implications things like those would give him. And I just find that recklessness something that is very, very interesting. So what is he going to say to Kiyoshi, I wonder? I really do. Interesting that he looks down on that, even though his grades aren't exactly good. I mean, I'm sorry, but you can't look down on people admitted here through sports if your grades are bad. But to be fair, let's be honest, Takuji's grades are probably bad because of his schizophrenia, so can you really blame him for having bad grades?
宝くじが当たったとか言ってただろ。
誰も宝くじが当たったなんて言ってないけど。
What?
大丈夫なのか。小沢ほどじゃないにしても、武井もこの学校じゃ不良だろ。
A delinquent who's also trying to look into research material and academic reference books. Academic reference book, my arse, by the way. That's probably a lie. If he's a delinquent.
大丈夫？何が？
今度は武井に目をつけられるぞ。
Yeah, totally, yeah. I find it very interesting that Kiyoshi, he doesn't even require anybody to tell him to do this. And if anything, that really gives me a little indication on the fact that he doesn't necessarily feel that he feels complete dependence on Yasuko. He has independence, and as we can see here, he is a good person. And he's deliberately trying to protect Takuji because Takuji may not know the weight of what he's just done.
なんだい？僕がまたいじめられるって言うのかい？
ああ。北高は進学校だが、武井も俺と同じスポーツ推薦だ。あまり頭は良くない。
That's why the physics teacher picks on him. Or in general, I like that.
確かにスポーツ推薦の連中はバカばかりだよ。
Oh my god. This guy has no fucking restraint. That's hilarious.
お前、薬でもやっているの？
Are you off the juice? What a fucking weird piece of slang to use.
なんでそう思うの？
瞳孔がやたら開いている。それに。
Seriously, yeah, never expecting him to actually look like he can talk. Yeah, kind of. Well, no, it was actually the case that a really unknown Lovecraftian monster from Roulier has awakened and has manifested within his consciousness and has literally eaten his brain, rewritten it so that it can appeal, and then it can appeal to said unknown being, and then he has been able to experience, like he said, a new day, a new Takuji. Yeah, that really works. Yeah, you should just say that. See what happens. Yes, he would be off the juice if that happened. What a ridiculous expression.
へえ、薬をやっていると瞳孔が開くんだ。
Yeah, off the juice here. I heard kusuri. I suppose you say kusuri or kusuri demo yatteru or something like that.
お前、薬でもやっているのか？
Yatteiru, yeah.
なんだい？僕を見つめて。
He's been so rude to him, even though he's not even Kiyoshi's not trying to be rude to him whatsoever. Yeah, it's a good question.
当たり前だよ。僕は間宮拓司さん。
薬はやってないのか？
薬ってなんでそんなこと聞くんだい？
It is reasonable that he would be, though, yeah.
繁華街とか出歩いてないだろうな。
He's probably convinced it's hilarious.
なぜ？
いや、なんでもない。
Oh yeah, he's probably thinking about maybe the fact Ozawa's dealer could be active. And there could be a connection, maybe? Yeah, what a depressing conversation.
なんで薬が関係あるの？
That was one line he talked in symbols. Well, I mean, obviously when he was talking in the beginning, Ridudu was copying every single type of speech that Takuji was saying. Especially, what was especially ironic is he was saying delusion, and then she was responding, "Yes, I am Mahou Shoujo Ridudu." I think it's so ironic that you can't see why. A Omega.
Mamiya? またここにいるのか。なんでお前はこんな場所にいる？使われてないプールだぞ。
This is gonna be interesting. And when he has all of the really unknown formulae on the board that to anybody outside of Takuji's perspective it would just look like a bunch of scribbles, which ironically happens later on in the day. But yeah, it's just funny that that can be linked to the moment he has of discovering Mahou Shoujo Rirudu. Oh yeah, maybe.
君ならもしかしたらわかるかもしれないね。
俺ならわかる。何がだ？
だが君に挨拶はしないよ。
挨拶？
なぜならば僕の前に立つ人間が本物であるかどうかを見極めなければならないんだ。
本物かどうかって何の話だ？
僕からは挨拶しないよ。
挨拶って、お前何を？
Seriously, I think it's just so funny experiencing Takuji's character through the lens of a person who's actually normal.
今はね、ちょうど三角なんだよ。
三角？
そうだよ。今の状態はまさに三角形なんだよ。
二人しかいないのになんで三角状態になるんだよ。
そう、そこだよ。2点であるものは本来なら直線上に結ばれることになるはずだ。 ただしそれは幾何学的空間と時間においてでしかないんだ。でもね、そうじゃないんだよ。幾何学の問題ではないんだ。これはそういう問題じゃないからこそ
How
大
can it be
変なんだ
possible?
よ。
It's just another one of those examples. How can something that defines a straight line also define a triangle? Maybe it's just that emphasis of the fact that it's a problem that human beings are not meant to understand. It's interesting, the real thing, as in the real person who is able to understand Takuji.
いや、それこそだ。君がもしここに来てくれれば、ここに来ることができるならば四角形になり得る。四角形？いや違う。三角錐の頂点を中心に並べれば球体になる。球体であるということは。
マミヤ、聞きたいのだが。
いいな、断じていいなだ。僕はね、僕からはそれをなさないんだよ。君が決めるんだ。そうだよ、そうだよ。君が決めるべき問題なんだ。だから僕はもう行くよ。
It's just as if they're having two entirely different conversations.
さらばだよ。
How weird.
おい、マミヤ。
He's just genuinely interested in how someone has changed so ridiculously much in such a short time.
君もここに来たんだね。ちゃんと断りを学んでいるかい？
Even though it just looks like scribbles to anybody normal. Hmm.
この数式がわかるかな。
ただの落書きだろ。
Oh yeah, funny that, yeah.
落ち着いて。今は四角形の理論を書いているんだ。非常に難しい理論なんだよ。
視覚の理論だと？俺にはアニメか何かの絵に見えるけど。
そうだよ。よくわかったね。 これは2次元と3次元の比喩的論法なんだよ。
下手くそなアニメが2次元と3次元の比喩だと。
そう、少しは分かってきたみたいだね。アニメの語源はアニメーション、つまり四角いディスプレイという意味から派生しているんだ。
いや違うだろう。ラテン語だかのアニマが語源で生命を吹き込むだろう。
確かにディスプレイは四角いけど、今までが三角だからね。少し待って、最終式の証明が終わる。
最終式？
はあ、なんてことだ。できたぞ。水上くん、君はこれを理解してもいいよ。
何をどう理解すればいいんだよ。
それは君次第じゃないか。
Oh, that's interesting.
僕はもう行くよ。
おい、マミヤ。
では。
Ayana.
タクジくん。
Oh yeah, that's gonna be a good place to leave everything today. I don't really want to go to bed now, but I'm sorry, I'm just too tired. I really can't cope. I am trying my hardest to stay awake. I'm gonna be honest, I can't cope in this heat. I'm just not adapted for it anymore. I don't know how I used to do visual novel sessions that were so long, if I'm gonna be honest. I just can't. Yeah, I really hope I'm gonna be better at coping with tiredness soon, but I'm sorry, I just can't continue. I'm too tired. I'm just genuinely too tired. I'm a bit annoyed about that, to be honest. But anyway, we saw some cool stuff. I must say I didn't really enjoy the stuff with Ryudu the most, but at the same time I did still think it was beneficial to see a lot of not only the relationships between Tsubaki and this, but also to see some new stuff as well. Particularly the stuff about infinity, and also the world starting from nothing and the ambiguity in that. And also I really like this new aspect to Takuji, his recklessness, and also him desperately trying to please and to test and trial the person that understands, that he feels he could understand, the person that he's obsessed with. And I suppose he wants to do that so that the person who actually has potential of understanding him could possibly do so. And I suppose he's testing him so that Yukito can... Well, it's just really interesting that even though he wants Yukito to do something like a friend would, i.e. understand another, he's not exactly making him look like somebody who's very sane or very reasonable and aligned with the human world as well. Yeah, it's just funny how he tries to reach out, and it's just a desperate attempt. It's not going to happen whatsoever. Even though Yukito does actually realise that him and Takuji are like opposite sides of the same coin, which is quite funny. I like that. It makes the story a lot more interesting. And I like Takuji's changed character as well. I think that's very nice. I suppose we saw that in Tsubaki B. It's just we saw the recklessness with Tomosane rather than anybody else. Well, no, it was only Tomosane he was reckless to, which is quite cool, rather than people that actually existed. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed, and yeah, I'll see you next time.